Today we're making two types of olives and some sweet pickles for the dolls in the dollhouse, as well as a couple of really quick little bowls. Stay tuned and see how fun and easy this project is. All right, we are going to start with some black olives. And for those, we just need some black polymer clay. Now this happens to be Primo, which is the first one I grabbed in my tub of black clay. And I've rolled it out to a snake, as small of a snake as I could get it. My aim was to make it about the same diameter as a toothpick, which is about 1/16 of an inch. And I got it as close as I could without it falling apart. Now, we're going to cut into little tiny segments. We're going to cut this 1/16 of an inch snake into 1/8 inch pieces. And I'm lining it up with my ruler for the first cut. And we're making kind of jumbo olives. And then I'm going to use that piece of clay that's on my knife to size the rest of these. Whoops, I lost that. Okay. And they don't have to be perfectly the same size, because sometimes you get a jar of olives or a can of olives and there's slightly different sizes in them. Okay, that's probably as far as we can go. So now we're going to take each of these in the palm of our hand, and we're going to use our index finger and kind of make a basic olive shape. A little oval, like kind of, well, shaped like an olive. And I do have a black olive. Mine is not a jumbo one. I do have an olive sitting here to look at, just kind of give me some inspiration. Hopefully I won't forget any details that way. I won't make you watch me do all of these. I'll do that many to start out with. All right, then we're going to pick them up one at a time. Use your fingers to kind of support the sides. Find the skinny end and take the point of a toothpick and use your fingers to kind of maintain that olive shape. Then take a pointy tool and poke into the other end. That way we're only getting a hole in the other end, not the cross, but that will be fine. And then move it to your baking surface. Let's do that again. And once you get the hang of it, this really goes pretty quickly. I don't know why I changed hands on this one, but okay. I cannot do it that direction. I have to do it this way. It does go pretty quickly. I find it is easier if you pre-shape your olives before you poke the stick in, even though you're kind of reshaping them once you do that. And to get it off the stick, you just simply do that. And they'll just come off really easily. So I am going to form a whole bunch of black olives, way more than I need for my project, but I want to have extras. Since I'm doing this, I might as well make a bunch. So when I get these all formed, I'm going to bake them at 250 degrees for probably about 7, 8, 9 minutes, and when those are baked, we'll start the next batch. All right, here are the black olives. They're all baked and cooled. They just take a moment to cool off. They've got their little hole in them, and they are ready for finishing off, but we're not going to do that yet. So I'm going to put them into a little dish. Now I want to keep each color of each item that we're making today separate from the others, because I'm going to plate them separately. And now that they're baked, they can go into any kind of container. I have this little glass, little plastic shot glass from Dollar Tree. I'm going to put them in there until I'm ready to use them. So let me get the clay out to make our next item. All right, now we're going to attempt to make some green olives. Now, The green olives I've got currently was literally the last jar of olives in the store that I was shopping at. And they are little tiny things, but they'll give us a color and a basic shape. And I'm going to make ours about the size I just made the black olives. So I don't have a clay the right color, but I'm going to mix some Fimo Sunshine Yellow with some Sculpey and Camouflage Green. And I'm hoping to come up with a color that is reasonably close to my olive there. So I'm going to turn the camera off. I'm going to get this kneaded together. When I get it kneaded together, I'll come back and I'll show you what I've got. All right, I'm happy with this color. It looks really good. I rolled out some a snake, and basically we're doing the exact same thing we did before. We are going to roll a really skinny, like 1/16 of an inch snake. We're going to roll it into balls. Then we're going to put it on the toothpick. We're going to poke a hole in the top. And then we're going to transfer it to our baking surface. And then we're going to bake these. And then after these are baked and cooled, I'll bring them back and we'll put the little piece of pimento in the center. So let me get a bunch of these made and then I'll be right back. All right, these are all baked and cooled. I'm going to attempt to get you guys, can it focus? Can the camera focus? Looks like about as close as I can get. Now this is the bigger hole that I had the toothpick in. I've got just some red Sculpey here. Any red clay will work. A warmer red would actually be better, but I didn't have a warmer red. Warmer red, I mean something more, a slight touch of orange to it. And just put it in there. I didn't want to work with the clay too much because I want it to remain a little firmer so that it won't smush down too much. And I know it's really hard to see anything. I will take some photos of these as when they're finished. But I'm just going to go through, and I'm afraid my hands are shaking, and which always happens when the camera gets on me. I'm just going to use the side of my tool to pick up just the smallest amount of clay. I'm not even worrying about putting any TLS in here or anything. I'm just sticking a little bit of red clay in there, and like I said, I'll try to have pictures, close-up pictures of this on the blog post, and hopefully we'll be able to see a picture later in the video. So let me finish these up, get them baked. Again, 6-7 minutes will be plenty of time to cure that tiny amount of clay, and then when those are done, I'll show you what they look like, and then we'll go on to our last item today. All right, here are our green olives all filled and ready to put into a display. So I am going to put those in here and we'll move on to our next thing. All right, next we're going to make some little sweet pickles. And for that, we're going to have to mix clay again. What I have here is more of that camouflage green. Oops, get all the red off my tray. I have the tiniest amount of black. And then I have some translucent. So I'm going to get that all mixed together, and then I'll be back. All right, that clay color came out perfect. It's exactly what I wanted. And I rolled out a little bit of it into a snake, about a 1/16 of an inch again, using my toothpick as a guide. Now this doesn't have to be exact, because you look in a jar of pickles, they're going to vary in size. You want to keep them about this though, because these are supposed to be those cute little gherkin guys. So cut, and then we're going to cut around 1/4 of an inch. And that's probably plenty to do for you guys on camera. Then we're going to take these and just put them on the tray and kind of roll them so that the ends are just a little bit softened. You don't want a real point, but you don't want a flat cut. And I'm sorry we're back a little far on this one, but that's because the next step I want you to be able to see and When I filmed it yesterday afternoon, it was really hard to get it into the line of sight of the lens when I was working. So we've got, so I don't like that guy. He's a little too skinny, so I'm going to stick with just these. So we've got these guys, and I have this. This is a scrubby, I call it a scrubby sponge. You buy them in the grocery store where they have dishwashing stuff. It's to scrub your pots and pans with. Lay your clay on here and just roll it. And that's going to give it a really neat texture. Don't push down too hard. You're just trying to texture it. You're not trying to make it thinner or, super textured. And we can dump them off. And some of them, you can kind of take the handle of a tool and just kind of give them a little bit of a curve. You don't have to curve all of them because not all pickles curl, but I like a little bit of a curl to some of them. And then those are going to bake for probably 6-7 minutes because they're pretty thin again at 250, and when they're baked and cooled, I'll come back and we'll look at how they look. All right, here are our little pickles. I think they turned out so cute. And we are going to put a clear finish on these in just a little bit, along with the olives also. But I want to talk a little bit about what to display your pickles and your olives in. Now, for my olives, I'm going to use these. These are little bead caps, and these specific ones probably aren't available anymore, but there will be others available. Any place that sells bead supplies, jewelry making supplies, should have something similar. I'll take a good picture of this along next to my ruler so you can see exactly how big these are. But those are what I'm going to display mine in. Another option is to take a ball of clay. This is a white translucent mix, and this is a 3/8 inch ball tool. If you don't have one of these, if you have like a 3/8 inch bead, a wooden bead, or a glass bead, don't use a plastic one. If you have a wooden or glass bead, you could actually bake right on it. This, I don't want to bake my tool, so what I'm going to do is form my bowl right over the top of it, make it as even as I can, and I'm going to have to do some trimming, which, trust me, is much easier when you're not trying to do this on camera because you can actually get it where you need it. Get it nice and even. That's pretty good. You can do a little bit of fixing once it's out. Stand it straight up and down and make a flat bottom. Now this will need to move to the freezer because I want to pop this off before I bake it. So I'm going to freeze this for about a half hour. I want it really frozen. Then I can pop it off and bake it. I'm also going to make a bowl for my pickles because I want a little bit bigger bowl. And I have this little, I think it's just called a plug. I will put the name of this in the blog post, and I'll try to remember to put it in a thing across the bottom of the screen here. You buy these where they have woodworking supplies. They're used to cover the heads of your screws when you're making nice furniture. And it's about 3/8, or it's about, how big around is this? Let's see how big around this is. It's probably just under a 1/2 inch. Falls through the 1/2 inch slot, but not by much. So I've got a ball of clay about 3/8 of an inch. I'm going to do the same thing. The only difference is this one, I can bake it right on this piece of wood. It won't hurt the piece of wood any. And I love having these on hand in my clay supplies. They are a really handy little shape to use for a lot of stuff. So we're going to do that. Then I'm going to try to very carefully cut right where that change in shape is. And I'll probably have to neaten this cut up off camera because I'll need to get it up where I can see it better. Then I'm going to stand it like that to make sure it's nice and flat on the bottom. And then when this is ready to bake, I'll put both of these onto a paper plate. I'll bake them at 250 for about 7-8 minutes. And then when they're cooled, they can have a finish on them also. So I'll be back when that's ready. All right, these are fresh out of the oven. This one got a little chewed up getting it off, but that's okay. I can fix that later. It's got to harden up before I can do anything with it. But now I'm going to very carefully, while the clay is warm, it's still quite flexible. There. Now that will also need to cool to room temperature so it firms up, and then I can fix the top of it. So we'll come back and do that in a little bit. All right, we're going to start by getting these bowls evened up a little bit. Start with, and they don't have to be perfect because they are going to, at least the way I'm using this is going to be glued down. If you're going to use it in a different kind of setting, you'll want to take a little more care with it. But I'm just using an emery board and I'm just sanding that edge nice and smooth. And I'm going to do the same thing on this one. Oopsie. So I'm going to work on these off camera. When I get them all nice and smooth, I'll be back and we can put a clear finish on. All right, those will be fine now, and I am going to just kind of rest them on here. Now I'm going to fasten them down. I've got some gloss Mod Podge. I'm sure you've heard my spiel about not liking gloss Mod Podge very much for clay, but it does work. It's just you have to be careful or it could get sticky. So I'm going to paint the outside with a nice thin even coat. And then when this is dry, I'll flip them over and I'll put a coat on the inside and allow that to dry. So I'm going to finish this up and then I'm going to get out our, probably start with our pickles and then do the olives. So I'll be right back. All right, so I've dumped the pickles out onto a piece of parchment paper, which I have placed on top of a paper plate. That makes it a little more portable because I'm going to have to move this here when I get it done. So I've got matte Mod Podge. I'm going to squirt just a little bit on there. And since I already have this brush dirty, I'm just going to stir these around in this, trying to coat them very thinly. I don't want a lot of Mod Podge on here. I just want just the very least amount I can get, and I want to separate them out. I don't want anybody touching its neighbor because I don't want them sticking together yet. When I'm ready to plate them, when I decide for sure where I'm putting them, then I want to stick them together. But I want to be in control of that. All right, so that's those. I'm going to get these off to the side and get the olives ready. All right, here are our green olives, and I am going to do the same exact thing I did with the pickles. A drop of matte Mod Podge. These are going to be a little more challenging to keep apart, simply because they're round and I'm dropping things this morning. All right, so let me put this off to the side and grab the black ones. And a piece of parchment. Always put parchment under. Don't put this against your paper plate because you could permanently adhere them to the paper and then you'll have little bits of paper stuck to the bottom, and that would not be good. put 2 drops in because I want to make sure I get everybody coated. Now these need to dry, and like I said, I will just flip those bowls over and do the other side of them. Once all this Mod Podge is dry, I will come back and we will plate these olives and pickles up. I probably won't fasten them in permanently today. I will probably wait until I'm doing the final assembly of our meat and cheese board to do that, but I'll show you how they look in the various bowls. So I'll be back when this is all dry. All right, our Mod Podge has dried on our pieces, and I temporarily moved them into the containers I have. I put the little pickles in that larger bowl we made, the black olives in the small bowl we made, and then the green olives in the little bead cap that I had. I love how these turned out. I can't wait to put our meat and cheese board together. I hope you're enjoying this series of food videos. If you are, be sure and hit the like button. Leave me a comment. Let me know what foods you'd like to see in the coming months also. I have some seasonal things planned, but if there's something special you want for your dollhouse, let me know. I'd love to try and do what you guys want to see. If you enjoy my content and you haven't subscribed, be sure and hit the subscription button and the notification bell so you know when I put up a new video, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.